Hey guys, welcome to the Happy Hour podcast with Jamie Ivey. I am your host, Jamie Ivey, and I just want to say thanks for joining us today. You are listening to episode number 23, and today I have my two girlfriends, Becca Harris and Maris Bush. Becca and Maris spend a lot of time talking about adoption and specifically foster care. Becca has two boys that she adopted from the foster care system. Maris and her husband Stephen have two boys, one biological and one that they adopted domestically at birth. And then they have been foster parents throughout this year. And so we talk a lot about foster care and what that looks like for them in their journey. We also talk a lot about Texas because Becca and I are Texas girls and Maris is a Tennessee girl. So we're trying to sway her over to the real UT, the University of Texas. I want to say thank you to someone that left a comment on iTunes. She said, I recently found Jamie's podcast. A friend introduced me to it. I binge listened to all of them in just a few days. Tuning in is like sitting down with some of your best girls that you just met. Jamie and her guests are always engaging and talking about real life stuff that you'd speak with your girlfriends about. I love listening while running errands, school drop off, and cleaning. Thanks for a fun hour. And that's from Andrea. Andrea, that is exactly what I want the happy hour to be. I want it to be as if you're just sitting down with a bunch of girlfriends. So I'm glad you feel that way. The next comment is from Sybil, and she said, thanks, Jamie, for letting me eavesdrop on such fun and inspirational conversations. These podcasts make my commute to work much more exciting. I especially love the book recommendations. I have a stack of to-be-read that never ends. Sybil, I love book recommendations, and so I love telling you about book recommendations as well. Today, we talk about a couple books in here that have to do with adoption and foster care. So if this is your world, I encourage you to check out these books. Guys, thanks for listening. I love doing the happy hour. It's my most favorite thing I do all the time. And so thank you so much. Thanks for sharing with your friends. I love it when some of you stop me and say, hey, I listened to this episode and I loved it. I love your comments on my blog. I love your reviews on iTunes. Thank you for all of it because this is just fun. It's fun to share with you the people I get to talk with. So today, I am excited to share with you my friend Becca and Maris. You're going to love both of them dearly. And so here they are. Have a great day, guys. Welcome to the happy hour. Today I have Becca and Maris.
Hello.
So welcome.
Thanks.
I recorded the podcast around my dining room table yesterday. So I need to tell you, y'all are the second live in-person podcast I've done.
Love it. Oh, that's
Most
exciting.
of them are on Skype.
That is exciting.
So welcome to my house.
Thank
Okay, so Becca, tell everyone who's listening who you are.
Like my whole life story?
Well, just a minute. We don't need to go all the way back.
I was born in 19... I'm just kidding.
Wow. That's long back.
No, my name is Becca Harris, and I am a adopted mom to two teenage boys. They just turned 14 and 17.
That's so crazy.
It is indeed crazy. So I have a freshman and a junior. I am a children's director at the Austin Stone Community Church at our St. John campus and have been in Austin now for about 7 years. So before that, worked at camp and all that fun stuff. So
What camp? Give them a little shout out.
Oh, Pine Cove Christian Camps. Love it. Love it. Worked there all through college.
What was your camp name?
Tatanka.
Tatanka.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because I went to Oklahoma Baptist University.
OBU.
And so our mascot's Bison. So in Dances with Wolves, if you're old enough to remember that movie, he says Tatanka for Bison. And then I worked with little kids, little tots. And so Tot Tonka was how I got that name.
Oh, that's cute.
So
We've done Pine Cove a couple years, family camp, and still to this day, wherever I am, if someone's like, hey, I have an announcement, inside I start going, announcement. Yes.
Yep. It trains you.
Every single time.
Trains
Yes.
you.
I worked at Kanakuk in college, and I always wish that I would have done more. It was my last summer before I got married, so
Yeah.
I couldn't really leave Aaron for a summer to go work at camp. But I loved it so much, I wish I would have started earlier.
Yeah, it's really fun. Really stretching, but really, really fun.
If you have teenagers and looking for a summer job, well, not teenagers, but college.
Yeah, college.
Yeah. It's the best thing I ever did.
It's a very formative time, too.
Very
really
good. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Becca. Maris,
Yes.
tell us about you.
I am married to this bearded man named Stephen Bush. And
He is bearded.
People
Indeed.
know him by that. And then we have August, who is almost 6, and we adopted him at birth. And then Wyatt, our little biological child. And then we are currently fostering right now with hopes to adopt again one day.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, scoot up just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, Maris, Actually, I told you this the other day because we celebrated your birthday.
Yes.
At a great restaurant, which I'd never been before.
Oh, love it.
Salty Sal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
First
It's so
time.
good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've been there for happy hour a few times. They have great deals.
So if you're coming to Austin, Salty Sal.
Yeah.
So good.
I had some kind of, what did I have? Like
Did
that.
you get the Brussels sprouts?
Yes. We got Brussels sprouts as an appetizer, and then we got a Brussels sprout salad.
Didn't you get the pork shoulder too?
Yes.
It was so good.
Yeah,
Yes.
during happy hour, the Brussels sprouts are like half off or
Wish
cheap
I had
or
that
whatever.
pork
I
shoulder
always
right
get
now.
like 2.
I know.
I told you this, Maris, you are my second oldest friend.
Yes.
That, like, that you have in your life.
Yeah, length of time.
Yeah, my
Long
oldest would be
time.
Amy, and you're my second oldest friend.
Yeah. It's been a long time, like 10, 12 years. I
Yeah.
don't even know.
Well, did I have Caden when we met?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a baby.
Yep.
So 10 years.
10 years. Yep. I know.
Crazy.
It's a lot
That's
of
fun.
life.
We met when you started dating your husband, the bearded man, but he wasn't the bearded man then.
No, he wasn't.
How long has he had that beard?
He used to shave his legs and work in a tanning salon.
Oh, he was going to love you for
I
that.
know. I just
Follow
feel like
him now on
I need to get
Instagram.
Yes. And he wasn't as bearded then. And then we got married, and then like he was the hairiest he had ever been. Like long hair.
Did he stop shaving his
I
legs
guess-
or what?
No. He had like long hair, long beard, and then he started kind of looking a little homeless, and so trimmed it back a little bit, and then, but the beard is something that I think will stay for the rest of our marriage and the rest of our life. So yeah,
It's kind of his like icon.
Yeah, it's
it
his
kind of
thing.
is.
Yeah.
It kind of is.
Does he comb it?
Oh, it's a detailed process. We wash it. Well, we don't. But we wash it.
I know. I was like, get the hell.
No.
That's another podcast.
That's another one. How to help your husband's
Yeah.
beard. No, I mean, there's spray that goes on it. There's beard oil. Like,
This is more than I do to my
it's
hair.
a comb.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, he doesn't have much hair on top as much
Okay,
anymore.
yeah.
So, the beard has become the focus, I guess.
Now that my hair is short, which I'm growing it out again, by the way, but as if you care. I don't really comb it a lot. Like I just got out of the shower just now, and I didn't comb it, and I'll let it air dry, and then I'll curl it with a curling iron. I don't even comb my hair anymore.
Great.
That's
Is
nice.
that bad?
No.
No?
That means you've achieved success with your hair, I
That's
guess.
like
if
the
it's
best.
good.
Yeah, you've arrived.
Us
With your hair.
curly-haired people,
Yeah.
though, can't really do
Yeah,
that so
yeah.
much.
If I don't comb it, it's it's a place for birds. if I don't comb it, so
Kind of nest-like.
yes,
Okay.
that is actually a fear I have is that a bird will one day just be like
Oh my gosh.
and think that my hair is an object to nest in.
Yes.
So it is
Do you ever
a
straighten your
legitimate
hair? Because Mara straightens hers.
fear. I do probably about once a year. It's just
Okay.
down here and. For my hair, at least, down here in Austin, it's so humid
Yeah.
that it's hard to keep it straight with all that work. But I grew up in Denver, and I straighten it all the time up there.
I didn't know you grew up in Denver.
Yeah, I went to high school in Aurora, actually. So,
So how long have you been in Texas?
well, let's see. After high school, I went to OBU, and then I worked at Pinecove for 4 years, and then I've been here for 7. So I've been here 11 consecutive years, but I was born in Texas. So I lived the
Okay,
younger
so you're a
part of my
Texan.
life. Yeah, oh yeah. I
See,
lived in
we-
Texas farther. I scared you for a moment.
I did
scared
scare
you for a moment. No,
The
I
biggest barrier in Jamie and I's friendship is that I am from Tennessee and will always be from Tennessee.
Oh, that's so funny.
No,
I
I-
really was just like, Becca, I really thought you were one of us.
No, I left for a few years and lived in like how my dad describes God's second favorite country,
Oh, Colorado.
Okay.
where the Texans go to vacation and then you come back. So
Perfect.
yeah,
I went to Colorado. I've always only been in the summer. I mean, in the winter for snow skiing, and then we went, I guess, 2 summers ago in the summer. It was wonderful.
Oh, the summer's the best time.
I bet.
The winter's fun if you're visiting. If you live there, you get tired of clearing your car
Oh, I
off.
can't
and all
imagine.
that. There's no like snow days either because they're prepared for that. Stuff.
Yeah, here in Austin, there's like a little bit of maybe sleet. You think if you squint real hard, you can see it, and they cancel school.
Yep. Oh, like 8 times last year.
I know. Which I don't mind on the day, but then at the end of the year, you're like, why are we still in school? It's because we're adding them back.
Yep.
Okay, this is funny because I planned on us talking about something Texas related. So when you were sitting here telling me, I was like, I really thought that you were from Texas. And so this is going to ruin my whole plan, but it's still going to work.
It'll work.
Maris is from Tennessee. They have a school there that they call UT as well.
Of course, yes. The Volunteers is the only UT that I ever knew growing up.
And it's orange as well.
And I
right?
hated them because I'm a huge Alabama fan, so I hated
Oh,
them.
yeah, that's right.
You're an
Y'all-
Alabama
yeah.
fan.
Yes.
But you like Vanderbilt too,
I
right?
love Vanderbilt.
Shout out Good Boys Baseball. They won the World Series this last
Love
year.
it. Their football team's getting better and better, too. It's
Good.
exciting.
But Maris and I met when I lived in Tennessee, and so it was like on her home turf. And one of the funniest things I remember about, well, two things about Maris in Texas is mums.
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
Y'all don't do mums.
I still cannot understand.
Come
the
over in a few weeks.
concepts.
We'll be making one. We'll be making a mom.
We helped with our Reagan girls.
Yeah.
But it still baffles me a little bit. We had it like a corsage. We did not have.
And then those moms, I mean, when you're in high school, you save those. They're up on your wall until till maybe you're, like a sophomore or junior in college and you kind of grow up. Yeah. You save those things.
I mean, Dexter still has his garter that he got last year that he wore on the arm.
Wow.
And
did y'all do garters for the boys?
We did. They had wrist things, I think. No.
The girls had wrist things?
The girls had wrist things, and I think the guys wore something. I don't remember. This feels like forever ago, but I know we didn't do these crazy mom things.
So funny. Another story of marriage. We went to a Texas game once, and you know our song, "The Eyes of Texas," and at the end it says, "Till Gabriel blows his horn," and she's always like, "What? Why do you have to bring Gabriel into this Texas stuff?"
Because we're Christian.
Wow, you people really take this seriously.
Texas is like as close as you'll get to heaven, you know?
I agree.
I don't know about that, but I really do start liking. I mean, I have started liking UT a little bit. I mean, this is UT,
the University of Texas. Yeah. Yes. Isn't there a bumper sticker that says like Texas is close to heaven or something? Or
it's got to be.
There's tons of bumper stickers. Like I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as fast as I could.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of stuff like that. Okay, so I saw this thing online. It said 14 things non-Texans just don't understand. So it's Becca and I against you, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the first one, I found this to be true when I lived in Tennessee. It says queso is not just melted cheese.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, when we were in Colorado, we could not find good Mexican food anywhere.
No.
I took Steven to my favorite Mexican restaurant, and he is used to Papacitos. That's his favorite Mexican restaurant. And so we went to Tennessee, and it's like, when we were in Tennessee, we went to my favorite one, and it was like in a hotel, and I can't even remember what it's called. Yeah. And I mean, in Tennessee, I do love. Let me stick up here a little bit.
Okay, you go, girl.
Because some of it is like white goat cheese, like good.
Okay.
Like, but it's some. It's not. I didn't really know about yellow queso until I moved to Texas.
Yeah. Art is different, though.
It is different.
When you have Mexican food in other states, it's just like you should go someplace else.
I mean, I don't want to like cheat on Tennessee or anything, but I really, really love and appreciate. My body has not appreciated Mexican food because I think I've gained about 10 pounds since I moved here. But it is so worth it. It is so good. So good.
Maris, I think that you can claim that you can be Texan. You're going to die here forever. I mean, you'll be Texan.
Like, yes. Bury me next to my husband underneath a tree in a small country town.
That sounds like a country song. I know,
right there. Write that down.
Bury me next to my husband, right next to that big tree.
Hey, we know a country band that could use something
That's right.
That, so.
What's their name?
All Hat
No Cadillac. Okay, next is not all tacos are created equal. No.
True statement.
I'll put this link up online, but y'all can look at it here. There's a picture of like these amazing tacos and then like just a hard shell taco that you get at like Taco Bell.
Those are the ones I make at my house. Those are the ones that are made at Jamie and I's house.
But you know another thing is like breakfast tacos.
Oh, so good.
Those don't really exist outside of Texas.
I had Pop-Tarts. I had Pop-Tarts in high school for breakfast. I don't know.
But you know what? I grew up in Texas and I don't remember this breakfast taco crave until I moved to Austin.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It is everywhere.
Okay, the next thing is about people outside of Texas don't understand why we would brag about Buc-ee's bathrooms.
Oh.
Or just Buc-ee's in general.
They
just, you can't understand it till you have been to one.
So Buc-ee's is a gas station, but it has to be like 2 football lengths long.
I mean, it's like the size of like a super Walmart.
It's huge. Are they only in Texas? I'm assuming.
Yeah, as far as I know.
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to make that claim as someone get upset.
Yeah,
but
I've only seen them in Texas.
Yes.
Let's say that.
And if you see one, you might have to go to the bathroom ever. They're the nicest, cleanest bathrooms.
Yes. I mean, they have their own personal like door and walls that you can go in, and if you just needed some privacy away from kids in the car, you can just go sit in there for a little while.
That's not a nice sitting room. That's nice. And then they have those nut things. What are they like famous for?
Oh, what are those called?
Deer nut?
No.
I know what you're talking about.
They're pretty big. No? Or little?
They're I actually haven't eaten them. I've only seen them in the bag. They're like, it's called beaver something because Bucky's a beaver.
Bucky's a beaver, yeah. So they have all kinds of stuff in there. Okay, the next one is how big the state is.
It's huge.
It's huge. And I think that people that don't live here don't understand that. Like when we drive west. You could drive all day.
Mm-hmm. And
And still be in Texas.
If you're in Tennessee, you'd be like in Florida with the amount of time that you spend going across.
That's one of the reasons that Aaron and I moved to Tennessee, because he traveled so much. And so for him getting anywhere from Houston in a car took forever. But if you're in Nashville, you can get to almost anywhere in the eastern side of the states in a day.
I mean, I would like to think that you and Aaron moved to Tennessee because you needed to grab me and bring me to Austin.
Because God knew.
God knew.
It's true.
Yeah, I know.
You
knew we were going to find
Y'all needed to fetch me and bring me
there.
to Austin.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Okay, the next one is the way we pronounce certain words. So this should be like the street here, Guadalupe.
Yes.
Okay. Or Boerne, Texas. Because it's spelled Boerne. I'm saying it right. We say Boerne, right?
Yep. Yes. We say Boerne.
And then all kinds of different words that we just say differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't think of any more.
Well, one, that most people, I don't think, no, it's just Texas, but this was a big difference when I went to Colorado, is we drink Coke here.
Oh, everything.
Everything's Coke. Whether you're having a Dr. Pepper, a Sprite, whatever. And when I lived in Denver, it was for sure pop.
Yeah, that's different.
That sounds similar.
What do y'all do in Tennessee?
I think we say Coke.
You do?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Because then you say, I want a Coke, and then they say, well, what kind do you want?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's it.
And then they say, I like a pop.
Or soda. I mean, even soda doesn't seem as weird to me as a pop.
Yeah.
But
They said that the next one is the Valley. It's in South Texas, not in California. Some people say they're from the Valley, and it's down by the border. And not California. And then just the pride we have in our Texas state flag.
Oh yeah,
it's everywhere.
It's allowed to fly at the same height as the U.S. flag, which no other state flag is. Did you know that?
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But you can learn all kinds of fun facts like that when you go to the state capitol.
Yep.
Which
is
I'll be
also
going on a field trip. Taller
than the U.S. Capitol, because thanks to the lady on top.
Oh, they just put that little lady.
Have
up
you
there.
been to this Texas state capitol yet?
No.
Since you lived here?
No.
We should do that.
Maris.
I don't
Field
have
trip.
School age kids.
Your
Haven't
kids
been
will
there
go
yet.
on field trips.
Yeah.
My parents were in town one time and we did a whole little tour. The kids actually really liked it too.
We did even a Segway tour around the Capitol on the outside.
I want to do a Segway tour.
It's really fun.
Do you have to wear a helmet?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I might have crashed.
Last
actually.
time, well, we were going to buy that Groupon.
Yeah, I think I did
that.
buy it and never used it.
Well, I'm sorry. I think it was my fault because I was pregnant at the time and I was really pushing to still do the Segway tour, but nobody would let me do it pregnant.
I wonder why.
I know.
Yeah, not a good idea.
No.
Yeah, especially if you crashed. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
well, it was because I was racing someone next to me.
Oh,
I
I
was feeling very
imagine that.
confident. If you've been on a Segway, it's not like, you have to lean your body weight to make it go.
That would make it hard.
And so I was leaning really far forward to zoom past her, and then I thought I would do a spin move.
Oh, Becca.
But when you go on a Segway, it's not like bicycle handles. That's what you're used to. That's what you kind of think it should be like. It's really how your body weight moves. And so instead of just circling around, which is what I should have done, twist, I tried to turn like a bicycle handle and I threw myself off. But all I could think about was that the lady had said, don't let go of your Segway because they'll run into a car. They go by themselves. So I'm spinning out of control, holding on with one hand to the Segway. I had tread marks on my leg or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
And I did it right on South Congress, right in front of the Capitol.
It's not busy there at all.
I mean, I'm sure I'm on YouTube somewhere.
That's
it was
It's
so
gotta be on
hilarious.
surveillance cameras
It was,
somewhere.
Yes.
yes, it is so
Governor
funny.
Perry was probably watching it at night.
Yeah,
They're like,
laughing.
look at this.
Here's the highlight for today.
Yes. Have you ever seen Governor Perry around town?
No.
I don't know. I haven't.
I haven't either. Does he live on the grounds?
I would assume.
I would think so.
In the
Okay.
mansion?
In the mansion.
Surely there's a mansion.
Yeah.
Okay, the Texas state flag, my brother has it tattooed on him.
Really?
Lots of people do in Texas.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either.
Even my brother, who lives in California because he's military, they fly the California flag and the Texas flag at his house.
Okay.
Oh,
Stays
really?
True. Stays true. Mhm.
Hey, you know what? You got to stay where your roots are.
Yep.
You do, I guess.
Right, Maris?
Sure.
Oh, so funny. Okay, so both of you ladies have been through foster care, but you didn't even say that your boys came home via foster care, but
that's
they
true.
did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I just want to talk for a little bit about that, just share your story. People may be listening, interested in foster care, or maybe never even known anyone that's done this. So I just want to ask you a couple questions and see just share your story with everyone that might be listening about foster care. So Becca,
Yeah.
You're single, and you started thinking about adopting how long ago?
Oh gosh, it was probably
The time you drove Karen Purvis around all weekend?
no, it was before that
Okay.
actually.
I love
It was
that
probably
one.
like 6 years ago. Remember we
went to that
we
conference.
went to the Together for Adoption conference
Yeah, we
in
did.
Nashville.
Yep.
We all ventured back.
That was the first one, right?
I think so.
So
A bunch of us staff went back, and I had kind of felt God like stirring my heart to get involved with orphan care.
We sat in a session together. Yep, I remember that on the floor.
Yeah, we had heard of. I was just trying to figure out what that would look like for me being single, and so I'd heard something about foster care, and Jamie and I heard about this panel of people who were going to talk about foster care, and there was a woman in there who had graduated out of the system and was sharing her story, and it was so crowded in there. We sat on the floor, and the Lord really used that to just kind of move me to get involved with foster care, and so I came back from that and started learning and working to make sure I get out of debt, get into a house I could get in shape and that kind of stuff. And so,
yeah. Oh, I remember when you were like getting out of debt and
Yeah.
doing all that kind of stuff before you move forward. Why was that important to you?
Well, I wanted to be in a financial situation to be able to support the kids.
Okay, yeah.
And if I was paying off debt, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I moved in with some friends to do that. But then I wanted to just take time to actually prepare myself, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing this to try to be some kind of savior or that I wasn't just excited, and so I wanted to take some time to prepare and prepare my community around me, which I would find out later would be essential to my survival. But I wanted my family to be on board, and I wanted my friends and people around me to be on board too. So
Okay. Yeah. And Maris, y'all, did you say that your oldest son is adopted?
I think so.
Okay, your oldest son is adopted domestically. And so when you guys started thinking about kids again, why foster care?
When we adopted August, we went through Bethany Christian Services. It's in Nashville. It's an incredible organization. And I loved what they did, but I think foster care was something, one, we were dirt poor when we started that process, and God faithfully provided like every penny that we needed to adopt Augie. But I think this time, foster care is something that I've always been interested in, but scared to death of, because there's crazy stories out there. You talk to somebody about it, and all you hear is the crazy that happens in foster care, which it is crazy. But it was something I was really afraid of. And we knew, with August, like he's our firstborn, but we knew that we did not want him to be the only one adopted out of our family. And so we knew we wanted to adopt again and just have a heart. We live in a neighborhood that is definitely multicultural, and would love our family to kind of reflect our neighborhood. And it just felt like being a church that is a part of, like being for the city, like it just felt like the next move for us to do that. So,
And that was how long ago?
Well, we knew we were going to foster, and then had a situation come up that we
That was the spring, wasn't it?
yes. So we started so we started fostering in January.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Okay, so Becca and Maris, both of y'all, when you first started deciding, like, I think I'm going to go foster care, what were some of the, because, like, when we first started our adoption, we did a domestic adoption, which at the time was, like, crazy. And
absolutely.
it was so crazy for us. It was our first experience with adoption. Looking back now, it was totally different than when we adopted from Haiti. But at the time, it was new and crazy for us. And my grandma, oh, bless her, she'll never listen to this, but she would tell me, like, I know my friend, her daughter's friend adopted a little boy, and he was on drugs. So he was awful. So that's what you're going to get. And I'd be like, oh, Mimi, listen, But, so, like, did any of that come towards you when you thought you're going to adopt through the foster care? Because foster care, it does have different reputations.
Oh, yeah.
Within society, within our country, our culture, churches, everything. So did y'all face any of that?
Like different people's opinions,
Yeah,
or
different
our own
people's
fears.
No, not your own fears.
Okay.
Not your own fears, but other people. Did anyone try to, like, discourage you about going through the foster care system?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially since I was single, which I think there is some value to, making
Because
sure
of the
this is-
unexpectedness and the
and
challenge.
I think they
of the
were like,
change.
"How you're wanting to be a single parent? Do you think that's I don't think God wants you to be a single parent." I actually remember when we were at that adoption conference. Holland, one of our pastors, pulled me aside and just encouraged me that, because someone had said to me like that there's no, like that single people shouldn't adopt or whatever. And he was like, because they said it's not a picture of God's family. And I was like really questioning. I'm like, well, maybe that's right. Like maybe that's, and he was like, hey, it's not, sure, it's not God's perfect picture of family, but no one's a perfect picture of God's family. And it's better that they be in a gospel believing home with someone who's faithfully following the Lord than not, and then still bouncing the system. And that was really encouraging to me, because then I was like, well, maybe I am doing this wrong. Like maybe I shouldn't do this. And not to say that, just everyone should recklessly run to foster care. I think there's wisdom in making sure that it's the right thing. But that was a big one that was thrown at me several times. And then there's always people concerned about race. What are you going to do with their hair? How are you going to do that? What if you get, how are you going to culturally keep their background and all these things? And I mean, there's just a lot of things that I was like, I actually don't know. I'm not opposed to those things. I want to figure that out. But they were like, well, you have to figure it out before you have, and I was like, I don't think that's true. Yeah. And so I got a lot of that.
Yeah.
I get more pushback.
And wait, just tell everyone, because they don't know you. What race? Well, were you open to any race? Okay. All right.
I was open to any race.
Okay.
Yeah. And both my boys are half African-American, half Caucasian. So.
Like my deacon.
Yeah.
And your August.
Yep.
Okay, what about you, Maris?
I get more pushback from not necessarily us doing foster care, but for my kids. Like I had a lady the other day say, well, I just could never do that to my kids because they would get attached. And I'm like, well, yeah, my kids are getting attached too, and I think it's good. And I believe that it's just as much for their sanctification as it is ours. And I want them to grow up in a house that they look back and remember, hey, remember this kid, remember this. Like I want them to already kind of have that mentality that we take care of people that are like in tough places right now, you know? And so I think, and it does kind of make you feel guilty, like, oh, you're doing something awful to your kids by letting them attach to kids and then they go away, but we just know that that's not true. But I think it's more of people trying to protect my kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing a good job protecting my
most
kids,
people's concern is out of concern for you or your family.
Yeah. I actually talked about you, Maris, on Sunday. I don't know how I worked this is. I was teaching on something and I talked about that whole thing about like bringing in kids and then them leaving. And how does that affect your kids? And I really do. I agree with you. I feel like that if God has called your family to this life and to minister to these kids who don't have a parent and minister to these kids in the midst between their families, that he's called your whole family to that. And that we have to trust God that he's faithful. And I do think too, like, this is what I was talking about. I was talking about how for us as adults, we're like, okay, we can take on these struggles that we have in life. It was talking about the momentary struggles that it talks about, because there's a glory ahead. Like we can do this now. But for some reason we want to shield our kids from those momentary struggles when there's an eternity of glory ahead of us. But I don't think that God really is, we do need to shield our kids. I'm not saying that. Y'all all know what I'm saying. Yeah. But man, when you bring a new baby home, your kid suffers. Yeah. When your uncle that lost his job comes to live with you, your family suffers. Everything can alter your family. So I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. We're promised that we are going to suffer, that there is going to be suffering in this world. And what a beautiful way to like learn how to kind of suffer in some ways with your kids inside your home. So they don't have to leave the nest and leave the house and then all of a sudden start experiencing suffering, and
That's
hard
good.
times. So.
Yeah. You have this book here, Maris. It's called The Middle Mom, and it's by Christine Irwin. And I believe she's in Arkansas, Little Rock. And this is, if you are thinking about foster care, this is a fabulous book. I read it a couple of years ago and recommend it to everybody. But she said something in there that totally changed my view of foster care. And she said, a lot of people, what they say, like how you said people are concerned for your kids. A lot of people will say like, well, I just don't know if I could I would attach to all these kids. And how could I love a kid and then them leave? Like, I just couldn't do it. And in the book, I believe it was in the book, because this is the only book I've read on foster care. She said something like, of course I attach to every single one of these kids. She's like, but I'm a grown woman. So I need to be able to deal with my feelings and not let the feelings of like, oh, I would miss you, then have me say no to helping someone out. You know what I mean? So it's like a child needs a place to go. They need a foster family. Well, I think I'll be sad when they leave, so I'm going to say no. You know what I mean? Like, I just remember reading that like, man, that is profound.
Yeah.
That as adults, we can't let our feelings of like, man, that would be really hard, affect a kid's life, you know? Yeah. So good.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, your boys went home.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So speaking of that, Becca, give me like a little timeline, and then I want to hear Maris yours too. Your boys came and then left and then came. So tell us about that. Which this is Jana, the Cofields were over here yesterday, and this is their same story with Annie. I mean, they had her and then she left and then she came back. So
so the boys moved in, almost 3 years ago. It was December of 2011, and they were 11 and 14 at the time. And I had...
Which, can we just say, an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old boy just like showed up at your house.
Yes.
And herding boys.
Yes.
Like that.
People ask me what that first night was like, and I describe it a lot to working at camp. When the kids first arrive in your cabin and you're like doing all the tricks to like get to know them, that is what our house was like for the first night or so. But so they moved in, and then they were with me. They were with me till August. Sometime early that summer in June, we started finding out that one of the boys' biological dads was back in the picture. And wanted custody of them, and he lived in Houston, and so they had no choice. Like they were going to move to Houston, and so we got a few more months that summer, but they left the beginning of August, and it was just as hard as what you fear. I remember my mom coming into town helping me pack up the boys, and I remember when they left, I just laid on the couch. The Olympics were on, I remember vividly, and I just laid there like all day. And because I was attached and I loved them, and I feared what was going to happen. I wasn't sure about the situation because I didn't really know Dad. I didn't have a way to even keep a partnership with them other than like texting over the phone. And I was grieving. I mean, my mom had to help me like finish cleaning out the house and that kind of stuff. And so then things got a little better as far as me healing. You know, I kept up with them or whatever, but things were kind of returning to, I guess, what maybe you would call normal. And then somewhere in October, the boys started talking about...
time out. When they left, were you back like, okay, I'm back with my agency, I'm ready to foster again?
No, I had a weird feeling about them being gone, and I was still grieving. So I did not feel like I could jump back in. I had a lot of encouragement, too. A lot of people were like, hey, the best thing is go ahead and start fostering again, or, like whatever. And I was like, I just don't feel like that's what God's having me do right now. And that's because I heard from the boys about mid-October, and they were having a miserable time. And by December, they were removing them CPS was removing them from their dad's home. And they called me and asked if they could come back and live with me. And so they came back in December of 2012, almost the exact year to the date. There was 1 day difference. And I knew that when they came back the second time that it was going to be kind of a forever deal. And oddly enough, I didn't really go into foster care wanting to adopt. I just thought I could help. And so I had to wrestle with the Lord on like, you really want me to adopt as a single? Like, I feel like I was giving away all these dreams that I'd had of becoming a parent forever. And so, but then, that's what he did. And so they moved back in with me. And then,
boys. We're not talking like God's like, hey, here's a sweet 2-year-old.
You're going to take on these boys that have experienced 11 and 14 years of trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
And so so we adopted last November 7th, 2013. So we're almost coming up on a year of adoption forever. So, and it's been good. So they've been with me almost 3 years now. And, we are still working through a lot of things. And I think we will be for a long time, but that's a little of our timeline.
So. I say all the time when people are like, my kids have been home, Amos will be home. It'll be 5 years in January. And they're like, what is life like now? I was like, now I feel like that we're just a regular, normal family, just like everyone else. But we just have maybe different issues than you have at your house.
Yep.
But I feel like we're looking more and more. Well, I totally feel like we're just like a normal family.
Yeah.
Just our normal's different than yours.
Yeah.
Like
Which I think
my
is
kid
true
might
for
do different
any
things
family.
than yours does when they're mad.
Yeah.
But that's just, we're dealing with our own thing.
Yeah.
But it just feels normal.
Yeah.
So, okay. And I've never asked you this, and I don't know, this may be personal.
Oh, man.
This may not ever make the podcast. Do you feel like right now this is it for just you and the boys, or do you feel like this will happen again? That's a real personal question.
That is a real personal question.
You don't have to answer, and we can move
No,
on.
I mean, I have toyed with the idea. I am not making any commitments, Caring Family Network.
Don't call yet.
I know. Yeah, one of my sons, just his trauma shows up a lot more in his life. We've got a lot more things to work through. So right now, I could not, I do not think I could bring in another kid, especially one that from foster care that has endured trauma. I just don't think I could properly parent either one of them. But you know, in the next couple of years, maybe after I have one that goes off to college, which will be sooner rather than later.
That's so crazy.
And just one in the home, then maybe you know, possibly, or maybe after they're both old enough, you know, I would do it all over again. I am definitely open to that, and I could even see some benefits for my boys, and you know, kind of what Maris was saying, teaching them to care for others and whatever. Once we're at a place where I feel like that can healthily happen with them, I think I would totally do this again.
Love it.
Yeah, but again, that's not a commitment. Don't call me on that.
I love it. Okay, Maris, you've had two placements. Both siblings. First 2 boys and then 2 girls. So walk us through quickly the first one and how that was, and then I want to talk about the last one.
Yeah. So the first one, we had an 8-year-old boy and a 3-year-old boy. They were brothers, and it was hard, just because of the nature of how the 8-year-old really knew what was going on. He was very cognitive of the fact that he had a lawyer, and he would be real quick to tell you that. And he knew, you know, like when we were going to court that, you know, that we would pray ahead of time of like, we're going to pray that God would move the judge's heart, you know, for him to go back to mom. And so he was very aware of what was going on and also treasured his mom. I mean, and we were actually, this was kind of a different situation, but we were actually in a place where we got to know his mom really well and loved his mom and wanted those boys to go back to their mom. And we're really seeking to help restore that family. And so, but it was not easy. The 8-year-old, because of his love for his mom, I think a lot of the anger about his situation kind of came out towards me as a maternal figure in his life. And he was very angry. You think about your own kids, how they're so used to normal, and then all of a sudden they're pulled from normal and put into a house with people that they don't even know, and expected to just start going to school and living life. And there's a lot of anger that comes from that, and trauma. Oh my gosh, trauma. And so that was not a situation where I had cute, squishy kids that love me back. And so I think that was our first placement too. And so I had to do a lot of soul searching on that journey of like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to get love back? You know, like what happens when I don't get loved, you know? And I'm doing this and I have a kid who's angry at the world and, you know, yelling at me. Like, what am I really doing this for? You know, and it left me, I would venture to say that I did not suffer well through that period of time. But I think in the end, like, God has restored that family. The boys went home to their mom a lot faster than what we thought they were going to go home. And, you know, they still come over, and they were over when we got the call about our next placement. They were over playing with our boys. And so I think, like, a lot of times that's another kind of stigmatism that people say a lot, like, oh, well, the parents don't really like work for their kids, you know, or like all the parents are deadbeats. And that's not true. Like, we got to really walk through this, and their mom worked her tail off to get her boys back. And so it was a beautiful, like, it was such an honor to be a part of that. So,
which that's what the foster care system, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what it was set up for.
Yep.
It's to reunify kids with their families, and that's what we want.
I mean,
but the best case scenario would be for these boys to go back with their mom.
Yes.
Right. And so she's going to work towards that.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
Everybody in the foster care system is working towards reunification.
Yeah.
We as foster parents are coming in, and I think the danger is that we are coming in thinking that we're saviors. And we are going to come in and, like, we can give these kids so much, you know, and
we're better.
Yes. And that there is a big danger in that, because, you know, you've got kids attorneys, CASA, CPS workers, the judge, parents, attorneys, like all of these people are moving in the direction of reunifying these kids with their families. And so I think us as foster parents have to be really careful when we walk into this system. Are we helping to reunify these kids and doing the best that we can with what we have, even though that is painful? It is so, so painful. Or are we just coming in thinking that we're saviors and we're gonna?
I think that's a good word too for even like, I'm not a foster parent and I probably never will be a foster parent. It's just not where we think we're supposed to be. And for anyone else that's listening that, you may know friends that are foster parents and you're not, it's just the way that we address those foster parents as well. And, because you could be like, man, and, you would think like all these kids' parents are just the worst people in the world. They don't even deserve their kids, which of course there's like extreme situations and that's why we had the system set up and that's why there's adoption. But a lot of parents are just having a hard time and they need a little bit of help. And I think that's okay, and we want that. You said something about when you thought like, I'm going to get this kid that's just going to love me back and everything. I read a book by Mary Osteen. It's called Forever Mom, What to Expect When You're Adopting. And I think it comes out this fall. But she said something in there that like hit me. And I've been an adoptive parent for a long time. And she's like, one of the hardest things is like when you have a biological child, like you, for the most part, you love them and they love you back. Like you love them and they reciprocate. And then you get a child in that you love and they're not reciprocating. And we don't know we don't know what to do with that.
We don't.
Because you get a baby and they just love you back. And then all of a sudden you get this child that's not. And when I was reading that, I was like, this is one of my biggest struggles with my kids. Is just, how do I react when I love and they don't love back? Well, I'm mad. Like, I'm loving you, you better love me. You know, in my worst moments, I think, I don't even want to show you any more love because you're not loving me back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had one of those moments this weekend. I was really frustrated. I'm like, you are so ungrateful for what I have given you, you know? I'm like, I just at least want you to be grateful. And then I was like, oh, geez, why? Then what does that say about my heart? Like, am I doing this to feel loved and appreciated or to feel praised or, it was, I mean, I had one of those ugly moments this weekend.
Don't beat yourself up too bad. All kids are ungrateful. These kids.
It's true.
I'm like, I give you a house, 3 meals a day, and this is all you give me?
Yep.
Yeah. No, but it is true. Like, I'm just like, I've had to check my heart a lot recently of just like, man, it's hard for you to show me love.
Yeah. And I mean, I have to go back and be reminded that is what we do to the Lord.
Oh, like, my gosh.
He poured out his love unconditionally, died on the cross for us. And some days we're like, nah, it's
okay.
Yeah. I'd rather have this.
And yet he doesn't ever just be like, I'm done loving you then.
He's not like, you're ungrateful.
Not show me, exactly. I'm done with you.
Yeah. He keeps coming.
And I think our pictures of love are different. Like, sometimes the love that we have in our minds that we're like, why wouldn't you love me back? Like, we have experienced love in our family. Most of us. We have experienced a loving, whole home for a long time. And I think, like, I mean, with other kids, like, their idea of love is not what ours is. You know? Like, their idea of love might be something that was traumatic for them, you know? And so we expect them to love the way that we've been loved. Like, they can't do that. They literally cannot do that.
Yeah, I know. And then you get these moments. Like last night I was tucking Amos in and he just was like rubbing my face. And for a second I was like, oh my gosh, stop touching me. Not because it was him or it was just like at the end of the day, stop touching me, children. But he was just like rubbing my face. And then he looked at me in the eyes. He said, I'm so glad you're my mom.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, buddy, because I tell him all the time, I'm so glad you're my son. And he's just like, okay, whatever. And so I was like, aw.
That's cool.
You love me.
Yeah.
Which I know he does.
I know.
Okay, Mara, so the boys went back with mom.
Yes, they did.
Awesome.
Yes.
And then now you got another call.
Yes, we did.
For 2 little girls.
Yes. So we got a call, and first of all, we never set ourselves up to be a sibling group foster family.
It's not a box you check for a question I'm asking.
We wanted one, and this is our
me too.
Yes, I know.
Looks like they're a little pushy over there.
They know who the nice ones are.
Yeah. They're like, yeah. And so we got a call, and we really, wanted one, but I called Steven, and literally you have like 30 minutes to make up your mind on whether you're going to take this placement or not. And so I called him, and he's at work, in the middle of work, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I need to ask you something. And, the beautiful thing is he works in a church office, and so he can walk down the hall and go seek some amazing counsel from godly men, and that's what he did. And we didn't know whether to say yes or not to this, because we felt like it might be a little more than we can handle. One was 3 and one was 11 months, and so we were like, I just don't know. We'll have 4 kids, and so. But what was really cool about that is one of his friends in the office looked at him and said, "Can you imagine yourself saying no?" And Stephen was like, I really can't. I'm scared to say yes, but I can't imagine myself saying no. And we knew that was our answer. And so they came to our house, and it was really late at night, and went out to the car to get him, and it was really dark. So I got the car seat with the 11-month-old and brought her back. I was the first one back in the house, and I sat on my couch, and I sat her down on the floor, and she was in her car seat, and she was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, oh my word, I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble. And those girls, we fell in love the moment they walked into our house that night. And so it was really sweet. We were really attached.
And so the girls were with you for how long?
They're only with us for like 40 days.
Okay. That's a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, 40 days. And we're recording this on the 23rd, Tuesday the 23rd, and they went home the 13th, last Saturday?
Saturday, yes.
Saturday the 13th.
Yeah.
So it's been 10 days.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me, real quick, I just want to know, everyone's like, I'd be so attached, and, you're moving forward, you're 10 days later, and you're going to get placed with more kids, in a couple of weeks you'll be open again. Yeah. What was that day like?
Dropping them off?
Uh-huh.
It was, I think, kind of like a double-edged sword. The grandparents really stepped up to the table, and actually the girls had 2 older siblings that were 5 and 6 years old. And so the grandparents volunteered and said, we'll take them. And so the grandparents took all 4 kids, which, y'all, that is amazing. I mean, like, amazing. And they're not like spring chickens either. And so it was really amazing. And so I knew how much the girls had missed mom and dad and missed their family. They're a huge family that is very tight knit, and it seemed like mom and dad had made some bad choices, and but the rest of the family, like, they're very close, you can tell. And so the grandparents stepped up to take the kids. And so on one hand, I had this like enormous joy for them to be able to go home and be with family, and I mean, they're so excited about it. And then on the other side of it, I could not imagine putting them in a car and never seeing them again. It's still really hard. And so it was just this paradox of feelings that I was just like, I want to be for their family, but I absolutely love these girls like I love my boys. And so it was really difficult, and it's still fresh, like most days I'm fine, and then something will trigger it, and then I'm weeping, and so we love them, and we're very, very, very attached to them. And so, but we are also very excited for the fact that they're with their family,
Tell me real quick, I heard you and Stephen talk about this the other day about, as the church, as Christ followers, what did the family, when you brought their girls back to them, what was their sense in you guys? And I say as a church and Christ followers, because I feel like it was y'all were a representation of the gospel that day. What was that like? What was their reaction to you, the family?
I think that they could see the pain. That was all. I mean, we were literally loading their suitcases into the car, weeping. Like, I couldn't hold it back, and I was just crying. And I was able just to look them in the eyes and say, these are amazing kids. Like, you have amazing kids in your family. And they are looking back at me going, I know they're amazing. Like, this is why we fought so hard for them, because we know they're amazing. And so, you can look at each other, and I think, like, eyes go so far. I mean, there wasn't a ton of words, but I mean, the uncle just, like, it was the dad's brother. He shook our hands and just looked us in the eyes and like had tears in his eyes, and you could just tell he was like, thank you so much. Like, thank you so much. And I just wanted them to know that they were loved, like that they were absolutely loved, like crazy from the moment they stepped in our. And wouldn't you want that for your kids to know that like a family loved your kids when they've been in like a really tough spot? And so they were extremely grateful. And they saw the pain that we had, you know, like sending them back. So.
Well, and I think it's just beautiful. Like I told you, those girls, there will be a place in your heart for them forever.
Forever.
I mean, when they're older and when August is graduate, you'll be like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. And you will always, always remember them. Yeah. We had we hosted a medical child one time, and she was here for 9 weeks. And I love that little girl. I mean, she is still, I have her picture by my bedside and like, and then a small one of my kids. Like, she's just like, she was so special to me and so dear to me. I just loved her so much. And she was never going to be my child, you know, and I didn't want that. You know, she had a mom and a dad that loved her dearly. But I always will remember her, you know, and I think that you always remember those girls. Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. You know? And
we've already talked about this this book a little bit, but The Middle Mom, I love like just reading her journey in this because she wept so many tears over kids that she had in her house and loved them with her whole heart and then sent them back, you know? And like, I think that, because, you know, for me, I'm like, well, how many tears do I have in me? Oh my gosh, like how long can I keep doing this, you know? And this woman fostered like over 40 kids, I think. I'm not done with the book. But I mean, I think that she fostered over 40 kids. And I'm like, how do you just keep doing this, you know? But I think like that's a time where we can go back to scripture. And I mean, like in Isaiah 58, it says that like he will meet us in our scorched places. And, you know, like right now in my heart, there's parts of my heart that feel scorched because I have literally poured myself out for these kids and they are gone. Like I probably will never see them again. But I have to believe that like when we do those things, when we love kids in hard places, that like he is going to like bring, like he's going to bring peace to our hearts. He's going to like, we will be like a well-watered garden when we pour ourselves out for these kids who need these things. And you know what, most days like I'm fine and I can look in the mirror and be like, I'm okay, you know, like I'm really okay, I'm fine. I do cry some, you know, and like, but I'm okay. And wasn't it worth it to pour myself out like for these kids and love these kids? Like I'm an adult, I'm fine, you know, and so I can do this. And I just have to believe that God's going to keep restoring me. You know, when I am stepping out there and doing things for the gospel, I have to really believe that he's going to restore me in that.
Yeah, and he will. I mean, his word says he's will, and if you believe that his word is true, then you know that he will. Also, I think, too, all the time I look at my life, and I'm like, I'm trying to look at things through, like, an eternal perspective. And so, what, we're here for 80 years? Yeah. I mean, 80 years, that's it, and then we have an eternity to spend, and so I always think, like, am I just going to live like this? Do I just want to live an easy life for 80 years? What will that, I will gain nothing by that, you know? And he says that if you lose your life, you'll gain. And so I feel like sometimes it may not be a physical losing, but you're giving up stuff each time that you foster these kids. You're giving up rights. You're giving up a normal family. You're giving up your time. You're giving up your ability to just call any babysitter you want. I mean, you're giving up a lot. You had lice in your house.
I did. I don't like bugs.
I know. So, I mean, I just think like, you know, it's so worth it in the end, you know, and I think it's fun. You're on the other side and you can say that, like, it's worth it. And so just encourage anyone that's thinking about it and thinking like, I don't know if I could put myself through it. Like, just really try to view that through the gospel of like, you can, and you can because I'm not strong enough to do it. Maris, Becca, y'all are not strong enough in your own strength. It's not a just pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of thing and face another day. You know, it's only through God helping you. Can you even think about doing that?
That was actually one of the most helpful things someone said to me when I was really, there were several times I was been really struggling with the boys. But right after they'd moved in, I was like, I can't do this, you know, and it was really hard because everyone's like praising you. You're so awesome. I can't believe you're
such an awesome person.
And I was like, no, I'm not. And I remember like sending out like emails of desperation, asking like y'all for prayer and stuff like that. And someone replied back, they're like, you're going to make it. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm not. But she said, not because you're going to be a better parent, not because they're going to get to be better kids, but because he's got you. And he doesn't let go. And that has stuck with me. Like, I still cling to that because parenting teenagers is a whole nother challenge. And there are days I'm like, I am not going to make it. And then, you know, or this hasn't gotten easier. I mean, I look at that, but I'm like, no, there's enough grace for today. He's got me today and he's not going to let go. And that has been the biggest, as you look at all the things that it costs, we literally come to the end of ourselves. And I think that's one of the lessons the Lord's taught me the most is I consider myself a pretty strong go-getter. I have all these talents, and he has brought me to the end of all that. It's like, it's only through me. Yeah. You're only going to make it because I've got you.
Yeah. So I thought marriage, brought out, exposed my sin. And then I thought having kids exposed my sin. And then I adopted kids, and I was like, whoa, I am so awful. Yeah. It is just I'm like a blaring red button. Everybody look at my sin with kids. Yeah. Especially kids from hard places.
Yeah. It's a different, and I think there's a lot of times that I feel like a failure, I mean, even August, if you do any Karen Purvis research, he is kind of from a hard place too, because he was removed from his mom at birth, and there are traumatic effects that happen in the brain, and he does not respond the way that that Wyatt responds in certain situations. And so there's a lot of times that I feel like just a failure of gosh, what if we, he responds so differently, and even with our foster boys, it was what am I not doing right that he would respond this way? I don't understand. And I think it's just different. It's different parenting, these kids, and, cute little, and I'm not saying all biological kids are easy. That's not true, but it's hard, and it will make you pray a lot more and trust God that with their salvation, because it's not through our parenting that our kids are getting saved. It's not because we're doing right things that our kids are great kids. It is God leading them, and God is the one that's in control of their salvation.
I love that. A friend of mine, his name's Jason Johnson, and he works with foster care stuff, and he wrote a blog recently called 10 Simple Ways Your Church Can Serve Foster Families. I know y'all have both seen this, but let's go through this real quick. And I just want to tell you, I want you to express what has this meant to you. And, I feel as though our church that we attend, all three of us, does a great job of coming alongside foster families. Absolutely. I feel we have just as a church body come so far, and I love it. I love it so much. Okay, number 1 is organize a meal calendar.
Oh, amen.
Lord, I'm so thankful for that. Oh my gosh. Because the last thing you want to do after you've been parenting kids from hard places is think about cooking.
Yep. And and then you got to figure out, mine, they came to me 11, 14, so they already had what they like, what they didn't like, what they used to eat, what they now eat, and it's so exhausting. So to have a meal show up on your doorstep is the biggest blessing.
It is huge.
So nice. I love to organize a meal calendar.
I know, and you've done many for me.
I don't like to make meals, but I like to organize them.
I love it.
Hey, that's okay.
So there's all kinds of parts in the body that work well together.
That's right.
Mine don't work well in the kitchen. Okay, schedule lawn care. Have any of y'all had anyone do lawn for you?
I didn't, but that's because I immediately put my boys to work.
Because you had
two
teenage boys.
Well, number 1, we're going to learn how to mow the yard and use some of that energy for good things.
That.
Yes.
So,
what about y'all? Anyone done your lawn?
We've had friends that have done our lawn in the past, but I don't know if it's because of foster care. We just basically don't water our grass and let it die.
It doesn't rain here in Austin.
You're not allowed to water either.
Yeah.
Except on every third Thursday, maybe.
And for odd number of houses.
Yeah. Okay. Certified babysitters.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that is actually one of the hugest blessings. Obviously I'm single, so I did not have any way to have a break without certified babysitters. But there was a missional community in our church, a small group, that was not all of them, but majority of them licensed to be babysitters. And one of them happened to be one of my good friends. And so they had already been working with the boys previously before they moved in with me. And so that was actually one of the things that was kind of a selling point for me, that I knew that I was already getting to be babysitters with the boys. But that was huge. Things for work, things for, just a night out with friends. I needed people to help with that. And then not too long after the boys moved in, several of my friends did a training because they wanted to be able to help with the boys. And so that is huge. Huge.
What people don't know is that when you have foster kids in your family, in your home, you can't just call your regular babysitter. No. They have to be certified. And every agency is differently. Yeah. Because Aaron and I are certified for another one, but not the one that you guys are with. And so it's just kind of and they have different levels of what you have to do.
Yep.
Yeah. And then people can even go further and get certified to do respite care.
Yes.
Which is where the kids can stay 70.
No, I think respite care is up to 2 weeks.
I can't remember.
Okay. So I think babysitting, there's like Jamie said, organization is different, but like babysitting is like 24 hours, and there's like family care that's like 48 hours or 72 or something, and then respite is up to 2 weeks, I think. So if you wanted to go on a trip that you couldn't take your kids on, cause sometimes they can't leave the state with you and that kind of stuff, or if you need to get away for a weekend or whatever.
We have a couple that serves us faithfully in that they're dating, and they just love us, and I think they are just sent from the Lord, and they just serve us so faithfully in that, and I feel like they're really our only babysitters, and it's hard because I don't want to bleed them dry because they serve us so. I mean, literally, we would go on a date and come home, and the guys in the kitchen like cleaning my dishes, and it's just like it blows me away so much, because I feel like, and they're invested too. When our girls left, they were bawling. They missed them too, and so they were just as invested because they spent so much time with them, and so babysitters are hard. There's a lot of things that Stephen got to go to that I didn't, and I mean that God used that in my life because I was like, awesome, I'm gonna stay here and clean the kitchen and keep changing diapers and put 4 kids to bed and
comb out lice.
Yes, I know.
We have yet to have lice in our house. That's another subject.
Me too. Yeah, we
is it more prone with girls?
I mean, they have more hair.
Because I was gonna say and then your boys haven't had it ever.
No. It was hard.
Please, Lord. And I heard that, someone can correct me here, I heard that it's not common and it's not very easy for black people to get lice.
That's what I've heard too.
Really?
So story, because I mean, if you have a boy, just shave their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've already told Caden that, although we probably wouldn't because he has this long, pretty hair.
Yeah.
And he would just die.
Yeah.
Anyhow, enough about lice. Okay, this next one, this is interesting. And Becca, I want to know what you think about this since you're like children's minister. Director. Conduct dedication ceremonies. And Jason says most churches celebrate parent-child dedication during the year, but do the same for foster families when they bring a new placement. Pray for them in front of the church. That's a little different in our church.
Yeah.
We go to a pretty large church, but I can see a smaller, like maybe a missional community doing that, or a smaller gathering.
I would say. Yeah, I think that would be awesome to do in your home.
Yeah.
I've had families ask me if they could do it at the church, and I've always said yes. The only thing I do is I think because of my boys, like if I did that, they would have been mortified if I brought them up. I even teased them that after adoption I was going to do a parent-child dedication with just them.
Did they get the little Bible?
Yeah, we could give them a Jesus Story Bible too, and but I always think just, especially, like your first set of kids, Maris, was older, just being aware, like if you're going to bring that older child who's very aware of what's going on up on the stage, that may not be a blessing to them. That's going to be a mortifying, traumatic experience for them. They probably don't want to be there. They won't. So I think, if churches want to do that, I think in a smaller setting is the perfect place to do it. And just be aware that if you have an older kid who's very aware of what's going on, it could be actually traumatic, not a blessing to them. It would be a blessing to the parents and commissioning them, but be aware of how involved the older kids are.
Yeah. I remember though when Fedna was here with us and we would sit through baby dedications, and she was 3. I mean, she totally could have done that. I just remember I would pray over her during that because I knew she was going home with her family, and I would just pray for her salvation and for her family and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then he said host date night childcare, which is where there could be a larger gathering. Yeah. I think our church does something like that.
We're working on it actually. Okay. We are currently working on just making sure everybody's bases are covered and properly trained and that stuff.
Yeah.
We're
deliver care packages. So I know both of y'all have seen this happen. You find out a child's going to be there in an hour, and you're like, especially for you, or even teenage boys. I mean, the same reality, baby and teenage boys. Those are both things that I would not have anything in my house right now for. Have y'all that gone on for y'all?
Yeah, I mean, I asked for a lot of gift cards because I knew the boys would have an opinion of what they, some people want to do a shower, which for some age kids I think is great. But I knew my boys liked what they liked already and wanted what they wanted. And so people gave us gift cards or checks even and was like, hey, go buy them new shoes, go buy them new this or whatever. Pick out bedding that they like, that kind of stuff that just helped make their room their place. Yeah. I had people donate money for a trampoline, for a basketball goal, that kind of stuff to just help make our house a teenage boy house.
Yeah. Because you had nothing.
Yeah.
We didn't have any girl stuff, and this time around we are asking for only girls. And so And you can do that, by the way. You can specify what you
specify.
Yeah.
And so we had no girl stuff. And then our age range, you know, we could have a 3-year-old or we could have a 3-day-old. And so there's kind of a span on what you need in that. And so now I have like a stockpile that I'm building, you know, but I mean, and CPS seems to call so quickly, and you're like, and they're like, oh, they're coming in 2 hours. Great. I not only have to clean my house and get that ready, as I need diapers and wipes and formula and what, I don't even know what formula they're on and all of that. And I think, I mean, there was one night in particular that I literally had like people clean my kitchen. Jimmy Ingram is vacuuming my carpet, like, like in my living room. Like, I don't know, like Annie Lent was there. Kim brought over like a ton of stuff. She just went to Target and just started buying girl stuff, you know, and Jamie had my kids. And I mean, it was just like, oh my word. Like, and I'm just trying not to freak out because we have 2 new kids coming to our house that night, and I'm trying to do things and get stuff organized. And so it was just like, that is a great way that community can just, because I'm telling you, those phone calls come and it's like, oh, by the way, like, I mean, it seems to happen so fast when you say yes, you know, so.
Just any kind of thing that you can drop off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and you said the house cleaning. I had people come over to my house and clean, or pay to have someone come clean the house.
I like that.
Was a huge blessing.
Yeah. That's good.
Too, to have the house cleaned. So.
Yeah, and he said stock the pantry, you know, bring stuff over that they could use.
Yep.
Yeah, we had so many people that brought meals that I remember our good friends, the Lundines, came over and brought us a meal, and then there was like 2 or 3 bags of groceries with it, you know, and I think the stewards have done that too. Just so sweet and thoughtful of like, hey, we just grabbed some extra stuff, you know, just in case you need it.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. And then he says build a respite care team where people can help serve, facilitate support groups, and then just pray for them, you know. And I think too, I would say for like, if you're supporting someone who's going through that, and y'all can speak into this because you've both been through it, but even just as an adopted mom, you know, there's a lot of things about my kid's story that I don't need to tell anyone, and they don't need to know, and I'll never say to anyone. And so I would just say, you know, to people that are listening, if you have people that are even adopting or going through foster care, just to be cautious about what you ask, and it doesn't matter to you at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's none of your business, but they may not want to say it's none of your business. So just don't ask.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's right. I think, you know, especially mine, I was more sensitive because they were older.
Yeah.
And people care, you know, and then and being on staff at a church, everybody knew what was happening.
Yeah.
So I even feel like when we rolled into church on Sunday, everybody was like eyes wide, you know, like, that's them, you know, and I was like, try to be normal. Like, they already feel like they now know they're in the spotlight, and and then, you know, not having someone come up and ask, so what happened? Or whatever is, just, and it's hard. It is. But it is possible.
It is, yeah. So good.
Yeah. And I think for people too, like, when you start from the mentality of like, we're going to love, even having a heart for foster parents who might have done the most, like the worst things that you could ever imagine, you know, like, but I think always keeping it in check with, you know what, my sin's pretty bad too, you know, and like coming from that standpoint of like not demonizing biological parents. Sorry, I don't know if I said that right, but not demonizing biological parents. And it is hard to swallow sometimes when you start having crazy love for kids that are in your house. Like when you know what they've come from, it's hard to swallow that. And I think already you're as a foster parent dealing with some of that. And coaching yourself through your own sin. And so, you're right. I mean, I didn't tell a lot of people like what the girls have been through, you know, because it's not something that I really want to share about them. And, I care about their family, and I want them to I want to see them restored, you know.
And it's not your story to tell. It's not, it's their story, and they're 3, you know.
Yeah.
Y'all, this has been wonderful. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story.
Of course.
Yeah.
The Middle Mom by Christine Irwin. I will put anything that we talked about or mentioned. I'll put a link on the my webpage, jamieivey.com. And thank you, Becca. Thank you, Maris. We're going to end with a little fight song.
Oh, gosh.
Everybody get your horns up.
Do I have to sing this? Because I don't know it.
Till Gabriel blows his horn.
That's the only part that I know.
The
And I don't even know if I
eyes
know
of
how to do
Texas
this.
are upon you all the live long day. Come on, Maris. The eyes of Texas are upon you. You cannot get away. Ready?
Don't you think you can escape
See, I don't even know
them at night or early in the morn?
Here we go.
The eyes of Texas are upon you till Gabriel blows his
So
horn.
great. I'm still an Alabama fan, so there you go.
Oh. I haven't been. Oh, I did go to the first Texas game. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Y'all,
beautiful.
have a good day. Thanks for joining me on the happy hour.
Yeah, it was great being here.
It's great.
I hope it's a happy hour.
Can I have a mug now?
Yeah, I have these mugs. You can't. I'll put a link to it, but it says happy hour. You can. They're for sale. It's just, one of those links where you can make your own T-shirts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I made myself a mug, and every time I interview someone, I drink out of it because it makes me feel professional.
I
Feels like
thought
your
you were
work.
going to say anytime you interview someone,
You give them one.
a mug.
I want to do that.
Okay.
Like $15 each. What am I? Like,
15?
I know.
Oh my goodness.
That's like
I can't
special
afford to
mug.
give everybody one.
You know what? This is a cool item, though, and it's something I think I want to invest into.
Happy
So-
hour, Jamie. I think that everyone should go buy one of these
I
mugs.
think so, too.
Yeah. What website we go to?
I'll link to
You'll link
it.
to it? All right,
Okay.
perfect.
I'll link to it. I can't even think of it off the top of my head. But, I mean, aren't they cute?
They are so
They are
cute.
fun.
Everyone
Okay.
needs one.
Okay. All right. Bye, y'all. See you next week.
Bye.
Little boy cheated his way to make it there, yeah, I faked it.
Hey guys, I told you would love Becca and Maris, and I cannot believe that I just thoroughly embarrassed myself by singing "The Eyes of Texas Are Upon Us" for all of you to listen to. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed our podcast today. I really loved Maris and Becca's vulnerability with you and how they express how their journey has been full of joy and their journey has been hard. And so I hope that blessed you today. If you're thinking about foster care, I encourage you to find someone that's walked through this and talk with them about it. I am giving away a copy of Forever Mom by Mary Osteen. And if you go to my blog, jamieivey.com, it is super easy to enter. I'm just going to ask that you like a Facebook page, and that'll enter you. And then I'm going to give away this book. And I really enjoyed this book. I read it this summer by Mary, and she does a great job of really showing you the real picture of adoption. And so also super exciting, random personal plug here. This is kind of weird, but I endorsed this book, and it was my very first book to ever endorse. So I'm happy about that. That was fun. I want to say also thank you to someone who left a comment on iTunes, and she said, "My gravy, I just found this happy hour, and I tell you, it's the happiest of all the hours. I have been binge listening to Jamie and her friends ever since I found it. Jamie is fun, joy-filled, and she so easily invites her listeners to join in with the conversation. A must when you are home alone with the littles all day." This is from Meg Clark. Meg, thank you so much, and I love that you said "my gravy." How fun is that? Guys, thanks for listening. Thank you for leaving comments on iTunes. Thanks for sharing with your friends, and I just hope that you enjoyed this hour. I hope it was happy. And if anything, I sang "The Eyes of Texas Are Upon You," and so that has to start your day out well. Head on over to my blog, jamieivey.com. Enter to win this book. If not for you, give it to a friend that you know that's in the adoption process or that has adopted. Or if you're thinking about adopted, it's a great book to check out. Until next week, guys, have a great week.
What's the point of all this background?